Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. And yes, I look killer in black. We got a great show lined up for you. Tons of actionable betting information. We got an NFL game tonight. New York Jets hosting the Texans. I have no idea where to go in this game, but we're going to delve deep into it. Ronald Cabang is going to take it apart. I do have some thoughts, and I'm curious about Teddy's, and we've got Marco D'Angelo joining us. Also, he's going to look at some college football. Virginia Tech against Syracuse, UCLA at Nebraska. We're going to end the show with Dave Sharapan. And my brother Theodore, what might your big game breakdown be?
We're going to talk a little NFL Sunday. My hometown, Las Vegas Raiders, traveling to Cincinnati. We'll break that one down in big game breakdown and what bettors learned. We'll talk a little bit of World Series and a little bit of NBA. Some stuff to talk about. That heck of a night in sports last night. It really was.
Yeah, great that the baseball playoffs are over and done with. Good riddance until next year. Congratulations to the LA Dodgers on a nice, comeback for the game, but they had the series well in hand. Teddy, are you in play? Are you in play tonight on the Jets game?
No. I could only take Houston in that game, and I didn't want to pull the trigger on Houston. So, we can talk about it when Ronald breaks it down. Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about it right now. It's so funny because I could only take the Jets, and I can't take the Jets. So,
yeah, exactly.
The digs. So, go ahead.
So for me, I have two. Like for Thursday night football, there's a lot of randomness on Thursday night. And the one angle that I've seen that works is you bet against the rookie head coaches and you bet against the old quarterbacks. And that's the only angle I know for Thursday night that works. And there's no way, the rookie head coaches, I know there's data on. The old quarterback, someone has data on as well. But that's something that's worked for years because of the short turnaround time. And yet, if ever there was a Jet spot, this is the Jet spot. You look at their schedule, the Jets can still be a playoff team. All they got to do is win tonight. I had them last week in New England. They had that game won. They might have had that game covered, and they let it slip away. They finally got rid of the kicker that's cost them literally 3 games of the last 5. It cost the coach's job, the coordinator's job, and everyone else. So I ended up passing. Sorry, Lawrence. I hijacked for a minute. What's your take?
No. Dude, actually what you said was outstanding handicapping right in front of our very eyes. And you're right. You're supposed to bet against the rookie head coach, and he's not only a rookie head coach, but he's like a head coach because he hasn't even finished the key part. And yeah, Aaron Rodgers, old as shit, crappy, and probably needs more time to get ready for this game. But conversely, no Nico, no Diggs. Houston, really, their offense has been out of sync all year. I was looking at the under in this game too, Teddy, but couldn't get to the window there either because the number's so low, and both these teams are getting into the 20s. So, it's a tough one for sure. Marco D'Angelo, are you in play tonight on this NFL game?
I am, so I have to take the Fifth Amendment here and not talk about it. I am, and I'm actually in play for a large play. I got a 4% play tonight on this game. I do like this matchup and situation, and you can check that out with my plays. Jump on board for the weekend, but we'll talk about promotion later. Let's talk some handicapping, Prez.
Yeah, so Teddy, when Marco leaves, I'll log in and I'll get us his play because now I'm curious as shit. Given that you and I can't find a bet on this game, not only does Marco find a bet, but steps out with a 4% play. Good luck tonight, Marco. Okay, brother, let's get into some college football. Meat of the season, we're here. Virginia Tech at Syracuse. The Orangemen are +4. That's where you're going. Tell us why.
Yeah, I'm taking Syracuse in this one, and I love this time of the season because I'm a situational guy. I like to find spots. I like to find teams that public perception has them overrated, and another team, public perception, would have them underrated. And this is a classic example of it. Teddy has a segment on our show, buy low, sell high, or as we like to call it, just the tip. From,
That's not what I was
Teddy.
going to say. It's not called that.
Yeah, but this is the situation here. Virginia Tech's won 3 in a row. But, guys, if you look at the 3 games they won and who they beat, and more importantly, what the situation was surrounding who they beat and when they beat them, I'm looking at this one, and they're counterfeit. They beat Stanford, they beat Boston College, and they beat Georgia Tech. You go down the line, when they played Stanford, Stanford was in a sandwich spot. They were coming off playing at Clemson the week before and had Notre Dame on deck. That's about as big of a sandwich as you can have in the ACC for the newcomer Stanford. So that was a great spot for Virginia Tech, and we used them in that one. Then they played Boston College, and Boston College was the week before. They were playing a Friday night home game against Louisville. And Louisville had been ranked in the top 25 this year. So that was a look-ahead spot for Boston College. Virginia Tech took advantage of it. And then last week, once again, I was looking at Virginia Tech in that game against Georgia Tech. Why? Georgia Tech was coming off playing Notre Dame. And it was a big game against Notre Dame because that game was in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So flat spot for them. Syracuse, on the other hand, don't overreact to one game. Nobody's ever as good as their best game or as bad as their worst game. And Syracuse is coming off a god-awful performance last Thursday night. 5 interceptions by the Syracuse quarterback, 3 of them pick sixes for touchdowns. Pitt had 41 points and only had 217 yards in that game. I can't do it. You'll see Syracuse bounce back. 5 turnovers last week. They only had 6 for the entire season going into that game. It's a bounce-back game for them at home. I'm taking Syracuse, getting the points. And then the last one, Virginia Tech's got Clemson on deck as their next game. I'll go ahead and take Syracuse plus the points.
So when we look at Syracuse post the Pitt debacle last week, one thing really stands out to me is that this team hasn't really faced a very tough schedule. You have a quarterback who's throwing picks. You said McCord threw 5 last week, 3 pick sixes before halftime. That was very enjoyable as a Syracuse bettor, let me tell you, in that ball game.
I was there.
At least he was over early. It wasn't a game you had to sweat in the second half, But McCord has been throwing picks. That's an issue for him. That's an issue for him at Ohio State. He had that was his 3rd multiple interception game this season. He has 10 INTs in his last 4 ball games. Or maybe it's 5 ball games. But McCord's throwing picks. Virginia Tech, say what you want about offensively. Their defense is making plays. Isn't that a bad matchup for a QB who could struggle here?
Oh, there's no question. But, Teddy, how many times have you seen? And if you look at the ledger, like I said, they had only 6 prior to last week. And there were a lot of games that had some zeros in there on the turnovers. So I'm looking for the bounce back. And again, against the spot here with Virginia Tech, I know you say that Syracuse has played a soft schedule, but, Stanford, Boston College, and Georgia Tech's not exactly murderer's row either for Virginia Tech. And if you go back, Syracuse, they came here to UNLV, and that's a game that really impressed me, the way they were able to throw the football around in that game against UNLV. Remember the overtime win that they got that they probably shouldn't have.
Marco D'Angelo joining us, everyone. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, take a second, just 1 split second, and bam, 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 that like button. Hit it for us, please. Greatly appreciated. Marco, Nebraska hosting UCLA, and, UCLA has been god-awful. And then they go to Rutgers, +4 dog. They win outright. Is that going to make them feel better coming into this game? Do they have some momentum here, or have they blown their load and it's time to have a nap?
I love that analogy there. Yeah, that was a big game for them. But when they won that game, they caught Rutgers in a bad scheduling spot as well. I'm looking at this. I'm going to start from the Nebraska side of things. Nebraska, normally you hear me come on the show, Prez, Teddy, and I talk about teams that were a huge underdog and almost pull off an upset. They just come up short. And usually in that situation, I am going to fade that team 8 or 9 out of 10 times automatically. It's a play against for me. But the reason I'm not going to do that this week with Nebraska is sitting at 5-3 with 4 games to play. If this sounds familiar, if you're a Nebraska fan, it sounds very familiar because it's exactly where they were last year. And what happened to Nebraska? They lost the final 4 games of the season, all by 7 points or less. Murderous final 4 games, and they didn't make bowl eligibility. They haven't made a bowl game since 2016. I think the first thing that they do when you're showing game film this week, you do not show the Nebraska game and how you almost won the game. You show what happened last year. The coaching staff remembers it. Any player that was on this team last year remembers it. And if you look at the remaining 4 games, you better get it right here because the final 3 games are not easy for Nebraska. They play at USC next week. They've got Wisconsin at home, always a physical game. And then at the end of the year, they play the rivalry game with Iowa at Iowa. I don't want to have to go into Iowa needing a win to become bowl eligible. This UCLA team, they got the win against Rutgers. They passed the ball all over the place. This team cannot run the football at all. They're averaging 2.7 yards per carry, UCLA. They've become a totally one-dimensional team. They're throwing the football 35-plus times per game, and this Nebraska team can run the football. I think 5 of their 8 games or 6 of their 8 games, they have run for 121 or more. I think if they run the football early, it's going to open up the passing game later. And I think they're a much more physical team than UCLA. I've always said that about the Pac-12, that most of those teams are more of a finesse team. And I was curious to see how they would compete in the Big Ten when they played some of these physical schools. This is a game Nebraska needs to get, and to get it done, I'm laying it with Nebraska.
So I'm certainly not going to make a case for UCLA here, all right? As I agree with your basic premise that I don't want the Bruins this week. That being said, the Bruins are coming off a bye, and Nebraska's coming off an incredibly physical, crushing loss. You talked about the fact that the Huskers fell apart down the stretch last year and the year before and the year before and the year before, but last year was under this coach. Isn't that pressure? Isn't that, my worry here for Nebraska is not that they're the better, are they the better of the 2 teams? My worry here is, can this team actually live up to expectations in a meaningful game and cover as chalk, which is, let's just say, not been Nebraska's role for the last decade. How much did that concern you? The pressure's all on the home team here, and yet every sharp dollar, Marco, really stands out. This line was as high as 9 at the open. It was 7.5 across the board. They took out the 7.5s. They took out the 7s. They've taken out a bunch of the 6.5s now. Every sharp dollar is coming for the dog. Why?
I agree with what you're saying, Teddy, but I just think that this is a different team as far as the culture in Nebraska. I know what happened last year at the end, but you referenced this team has, not been a good favorite the last decade. You're right, but there's only been 1 year of Matt Rule previous to this. And I just think this team is a better team. I think the week before when they got steamrolled by Indiana, this Indiana team, that offense is on a different level to everybody else, basically in the Big Ten, maybe except the couple top dogs. And I just think the fact that they were able to bounce back off of that loss to Indiana the week before and go into Ohio State and play the way they did. Now, granted, part of that, you think Ohio State looked at how Nebraska got pounded the week before and had Ohio State on deck. Yeah, that factored into it a little bit. But still, in the fourth quarter, they had the lead at Ohio State. And I never want to say a moral victory, but for the Nebraska program, I think that was a moral victory. And I think the culture has changed in Nebraska. They've played well at home this year, only one loss. I'm going to go ahead and take them to get the job done here. And I think if they have the lead in the second half and UCLA is forcing the issue and they're one-dimensional, they can bring the pressure and get some turnovers off of UCLA.
Wonderful stuff, Marco D. We still got Ronald Cabang coming up and Dave Sharapan to end the show. I will do a daily presidential address on 2 NFL games. You guys pick them, put them in the chat room. Which 2 do you want to hear? And Teddy's big game breakdown as well. Now, Marco, I'm going to talk about something because one of our listeners wrote in the comment section of either my NFL presidential address or of WagerTalk Today. I forgot, and I don't remember the guy's name, but it was there's so many comments, man. Like, give me a break.
So when there's one that you want to reference, what you do is you cut.
I know. Okay, whatever. Just stare at my beautiful face, Teddy. And
how's the ego today, Lawrence?
High level ego, dude. Lost my 4% play last night, and still think I'm the greatest on the planet. So this person asked a question, and the question was, Prez, you guys all put up your records all the time, and everything's transparent. We have our records up on the website. We have all our plays from yesterday and the day before up on the website, etc. He says, one of the things you don't talk about is your record, given that we have to pay for your plays. How do you win as a bettor if you're buying picks? And it's a great question. If you're betting $20 a play, do not buy picks from us, guys. You're never going to win buying picks if you're betting $20 a play. If you're betting $100 a play, you're going to win buying picks from us. But the reason I talk about this is because, in all seriousness, if you buy daily, it's going to be tough to be a long-term winner, because the price of the picks are just frankly too expensive. The way to buy plays is to buy monthly, seasonal, or yearly. It is literally the most effective way to bring down the cost of the plays, to take into account those, you're going to win at a 55, 56 win percentage. Plus you have to pay for the bets. Buy long term. And I say this because one of the greatest handicappers alive is part of the WagerTalk family. His name is Marco D'Angelo. He wins in almost every sport. He kicks ass almost every year, and he's got an incredible promotion up. These are the promotions that you want to take advantage of if you want to win long term. Marco, tell us what's going on.
Well, we've got an offer where you can pick up a calendar year, get every play that I have for the entire year in every sport, includes the 5%, also includes when I have horse racing specials, the Triple Crown races and such. It's normally $1,999. You can get it right now for $1,188. And I mentioned those 5% plays. I don't release a ton of 5% plays, but when I do, we win them. Since February, we've only had 17 5% plays. We are 14-3 with those plays, 6-1 this football season. I will have one this weekend. And I just want to add one thing to what Prez said, and he's right. You're better off buying long-term, picking a capper that you feel comfortable with, because part of betting is you have to be comfortable with somebody telling you what to do. And you need to trust the process and believe in the way they handicap. And we have all different types of handicappers at WagerTalk. But the only thing I'll disagree with what Prez said is, if you are a $20 bettor, in the long haul, yeah, what he said was right. But there are ways for you to build your bankroll. And that's why we have $5 Tuesdays. You can get any capper, get a best bet on Tuesdays for $5. It's a great starter program, or let you start, let you buy a capper that maybe you've never tried before and build your bankroll up. We're here to help you. That's what the free plays do. That's why we do all of these shows for you, is we want to make you a smarter handicapper and help you build a bankroll. And as you build a bankroll, you're supposed to increase your bet size as your bankroll increases. And then you can step up and maybe buy some of the other packages. But there are ways to build that bankroll for the smaller bettor. So we have not forgot you guys.
Yeah, well said, Marco. And good luck, man. Continue winning, my brother. Lots of shows still to come. And guys, we also have another special up, and that's $149 for a month of either handicappers, NBA or NHL. If I am watching this show, I would, and I'm amazing in NBA, amazing, buy Teddy's. I would buy Teddy, a month of Teddy's NBA and a month of my NHL. Buy that combination for the month of November, and I'm telling you, you're going to make a killing, an absolute killing. And that's a great deal. $149 for a month of Teddy's NBA, $149 for a month of my NHL. That's as good a package as you could buy right now. Teddy covers. What did bettors learn last night?
So we got to talk about the World Series. I mean, for a series that only lasted 5 games, that was an amazing World Series. Even more so if you hate the Yankees.
Yeah.
Last night's game was as good as it gets. I mean, ridiculous if you love baseball. And from a live betting standpoint, the Dodgers went from plus 800 to pick 'em in less than 10 minutes. You know, Judge's first error of the entire season. The floodgates open. Bad defense cost them 5 runs in a 5-0 game. And the Yankees take the lead, and the Dodgers are back up to plus 280. And then they're big chalk after they take the lead. And then they're short chalk after Judge doubled and Stanton walked in the 8th. And then by the 9th inning, they're minus 700, and Dodger fans are celebrating. When you're live betting, pay attention to the big dogs in the money line. They can hit big ones. Money line, worth noting. My buddy's a lifelong Dodgers fan. He bought tickets to Game 7 over this series. He's like, I have to be there. A night I'll remember the rest of my life. I work so I can do stuff like this. I get that. You know, and he also said, if I don't, Game 7 tickets will be worth more than I'm paying for it now. He's like, yeah, I can arbitrage at it. I DM'd him during the game last night when the Yankees were up 5-0. I'm like, if this series goes to 7, sell. You don't want to be there. He was very glad not to go. Congrats, Dodger fans. And congrats, Dodger bettors. Great World Series. I wanted to make one quick but notable NBA point as well. Last night in the NBA, I bet the 0-4 Pistons, plus the points and on the money line in Philly. They won outright, comfortably. Every team is going to win games. And early in the season, that first win is really important. But maybe more important than that, conceptually, the bad teams don't know they're bad yet. The Raptors 4-1 against the spread. The Nets 3-1-1/4-1 against the spread. The Pistons 3-2 against the spread. One of the 2 losses by a half point. The Wizards back-to-back covers the last couple of games. They've all been ATS machines early on. I don't think it's going to last, but at least for right now, something worth paying attention to. NBA bottom feeders, cash and bets. That's what I learned last night, Lawrence. Back to you, my friend.
Teddy covers. Guys, want to hear the Denver Broncos game? I'll take that apart in the daily presidential address. Ronald Cabang joining us. Ronald, NBA going on. Your NFL has been ridiculous. Welcome to WagerTalk Today. How are you, my friend?
Really good. Came off a 5-0 day in the NBA yesterday, so feeling pretty hot right now.
What? Yeah, dude. And after that month of September, your month of October, I mean, guys, Ronald has just been on fire. And congrats on that 5-0 day. I went 1-1. I won with the Cavs, lost with the Heat. Let's talk NFL first, Ron, and then we'll get into the Bucks and Grizzlies game. So Teddy and I were confused, are confused on this game. I mean, neither of us are betting it. Teddy kind of leans towards Houston. I kind of lean towards the Jets. I heard a great stat last week from a really awesome handicapper that once we get to the end of October, Thursday night football games go over the total. I think it was 13-3, and it came from you, Ronald. Mm-hmm. You were the one that gave us that great stat. So am I to assume you're going to continue riding the over on Thursday night NFL football?
No, I'm not. So there's a couple of things. There's different trends that I look at, and I stayed completely off of this game. Like you guys, I'm confused on the side. The total, I would actually lean towards the under more than the over. And there's a few specific things. It's the game flow, right? How the teams are doing right now. But there's also trends that point to the under, and I'll talk about it towards the end. But if you look at the Jets side first, everyone's looking at Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to have a tough time today. He's been faced with a lot of pressure. This offensive line hasn't helped him at all. And Texans have one of the higher pressure rates in the league. Plus the Jets also missing the slot receiver, Lazard. And that's one of the pieces that the Jets should have been able to take care of. Because if you look at the outside receiving, outside secondary, the Houston Texans actually have done a great job of defending the outside receivers in recent weeks. So they might be able to limit Adams and Wilson. And then at the same time, if you look at Houston's offense, they have their own issues. You talked about earlier the injuries that they're dealing with, right? Collins and Diggs. That's going to leave them with Tank Dell, and he's kind of hobbled right now. He's playing with lingering injuries. And John Mechie, I don't know how much to expect out of him. But for the most part, I think if Houston has a chance to move the chains and score, it's really going to have to rely on Joe Mixon in that run game or just the short passing game. I think Houston will be able to control the clock with that short game. But at the same time, the Jets have shown that they have really solid run defense as well. So a lot of things kind of just, balancing each other out. But for the most part, I think both teams are really going to rely on the short game, control clock management. If you look at the Texans run defense, that's their stronger area, right? We're already looking at the Jets struggling on the pass. Where are the Jets going to go and get their points from? So without a strong run game, that they're not going to be able to have the play action. The third downs are not going to be that manageable. But if you look at some of the trends that I was talking about, Stroud's lack of experience in primetime games, I think that's one thing to look at. If you include last year's Saturday night game in Week 18 as a primetime game, he only has 2 primetime games, and both of those went under. So I don't know if he has, enough experience to play under the pressure right now. But if you look at the Jets side, they're also 2-0 to the under as home favorites this season. And then the Thursday night trend that I wanted to bring up that kind of goes against what I mentioned the other week. Home teams on Thursday coming off at least 2 straight road games. So that travel spot and then the short turnaround, right? The Thursday game, 16-6-1 to the under since 2019. That's a 72.7% hit rate. But the reason why I stayed off is, obviously the trend that I mentioned the other week, but also another trend here, Thursdays, when road teams is a small dog of less than 3 points, 10-1-1 to their team total over. That points to the Houston Texans to go over their team total. But at the same time, in this same trend, the full game is only 7-5 to the over. So there's a lot of things kind of pointing in opposite directions. But as far as game flow and a lot of things that I was looking at is really pointing toward a slow-paced, low-scoring game to the under.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that conceptually. That being said, the Jets, are you worried at all that the Jets, who've cashed 3 straight overs and got gashed by New England last week, that defense is good enough?
I mean, if you kind of look at it from the opposite, right? You say, all right, they won 3 straight overs. Maybe this is the time that they've the total is a little bit higher than it should be now, right? The number might be a little bit inflated, and like I said, some of the trends, the game flow, some of the balances of the offense and defense, it kind of points towards the under for me. So if the number is inflated after 3 straight overs, the under should be the value play.
Ronald Cabang, I'm going to ban Teddy from talking for the rest of this segment based on the fact that he doesn't listen to me in the Slack channel. So there'll be no follow-up question at all. And Dan, I want him in the penalty box. No, Dan, mute Teddy and put him in the penalty box or the sin bin, as they call it in rugby. Bucks at Grizzlies. Ronald, your last answer took 17 minutes. Can you please keep this under 2 as we have to move on? I love you, though, bro.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah. So the injuries are obviously piling up for Memphis. Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, both probably going to be sidelined on a back-to-back. John Morant's status unknown here. I think some of the things that people are going to bring up is the Grizzlies have owned the Bucks in the last few seasons, but I think situationally, Memphis on a back-to-back, 3rd and 4, 4th and 5, 4th and 6, 5th and 7. That means they've had 2 second second of back-to-backs already this season. So fatigue spot pointing towards the Grizzlies. They've been arrested, only playing on Monday since that loss to the Celtics. I think they have a lot of urgency on their side, even though it's early in the season. So really pointing towards the Bucks. I actually gave it to clients last night at 5.5. It has moved a little bit, but I think if people are worried and want to wait for Ja Morant's status, I do think that there's a chance that he might miss this game, because I think Grizzlies want to hold their star players for the long run for the season. So I think the line might potentially move more towards Milwaukee, and if you like that side, rather take it now than later.
There we go, Ronald Cabang. Oh, no. Ronald, what do you have to promote? What do you have to promote, Ronald? You're going to be like Teddy. You're going to be like, we have a hard stop. We have a hard stop. We have a blah, blah, blah. Let me run the show. Ronald, what do you have to promote?
Ronald, the Bucks are 2-11 their last 13 road games. Does that concern you at all?
Okay, no, you know what? No hard
like
stop.
I said, the whole fatigue spot is pointing towards the Bucks here. The injuries that they're dealing with, all really pointing towards the Bucks.
Ronald, promote something, and we do not have a hard stop anymore. Teddy will be with us all the way through to 12:55 today.
All right. Yeah. So you mentioned the run since September 1st, over 100 units since September 1st, the last 2 months, actually number one in NFL and number one in NBA already this season. So a lot of things really, these are the sports that people really know me for, and I'm doing well right now. So WagerTalk has a deal, 30 days NBA pass. If you buy that at $179, you get 30 days of NFL for free. I do have a 5% play up this weekend in the NFL. 14-2 this year in the 5% plays, 87.5% hit rate, 73.4% ROI, both number one at WagerTalk right now. So a lot of things going really well. I see you.
No, that wasn't to you, Ron. I love you, Ron. That was to Teddy. Oh my God. Teddy, all Teddy does, we have a hard stop. We have a hard stop. We have a hard stop. He doesn't let me run the show. Okay, Ronald.
Thank you, Ronald.
I love
time for my big
Thank
game
you for joining us. Goodbye. Teddy, it's time for your big game breakdown. I'm sure it's going to be 8 minutes long, and then we have Dave Sharapan after that.
I'll try to go as long as I possibly can with today's big game breakdown.
Please.
Just to make sure that Lawrence has to rush at the end of the
care.
show. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and the Las Vegas Raiders. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk free live odds screen, mostly sevens there with Cincinnati. There are still a couple of 7.5s out there, but they've mostly been bought down. 46.5, the current total. And if you watched my big game breakdown last week, I talked about Cincy on a couple of different shows last week as a team that I'm not excited about betting. My clients and I cashed a ticket with Philadelphia last week in their 20-point win against the Bengals. And I'm not interested in laying points with Cincinnati this week either. These are the three teams the Bengals have beaten this year. They've beaten the 1-6 Browns, the 2-5 Giants. No, now they're 2-6 Browns. Sorry, they won. But they've beaten the Browns, the Giants, and the Panthers. All right. And it's worth noting one of the Giants' 2 wins came against the Browns. So the only teams that Cincy has been able to beat this year, we're halfway through the season, have been absolute bottom feeders. And even those were competitive games, not blowouts. All right. This offense is not clicking. This defense is not elite. This is not a Cincinnati team that I'm comfortable laying points with right now. And again, they're 0-4 at home. They had a chance to move to 500 last week. Now they're 3-5. They can't run less than 3 yards a carry last week. They can't stop the run, give up 161 yards on the ground. They didn't have any sacks last week. They didn't force any turnovers. This is not a let's lay points with them team. Now look, the Raiders are what they are, which is a team with a handful of talented pieces and a lot of mediocre pieces. They're not elite. They're not going to the playoffs. They're not a team that we love. They've lost 4 straight games. But last week was probably the best game I've seen Gardner Minshew have in a Raiders uniform. First time they scored 20-plus points in September. Positive sign. Things pointing in the right direction. Hungry team. I don't see quit in the Raiders. Haven't seen a lick of quit in the Raiders. Bottom line for me, too many points. live dog in this one. Raiders are passed for this better. And it's a play that I'm considering using for my clients. We appreciate the likes, we appreciate the follows, and we appreciate the comments very much. Thank you so much for watching WagerTalk TV. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy, you sure you don't want to do it again?
I can if you want to.
Well, I mean, we can
let's
waste
have Dave
time.
Sharapan.
Why not?
We've got 10 strong minutes with Dave Sharapan. Let's take advantage of them instead of dawdling.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I'm going to dawdle. I'm going to tell you. Oh, what the hell?
Slick Watts.
What? Are you?
What?
You know what you look like right now? You know those TikTok, it's the filters? You're like if Andre Agassi used a filter.
Really?
You know? Yeah. Like one of those.
I just walked into all this drama. I don't want any drama on Thursdays, okay? It's Halloween,
Dave,
okay?
Dave.
Shooters
so
shoot. I'm
shit,
Alex
Daddy.
Caruso today. All right, I wore the Bull stuff. This is my Shooters jersey, Alex Caruso look. If you don't know who Alex Caruso is, kids, look him up, Google him. It works for all the bald guys. Prez, I don't know. I mean, Theodore's big game breakdown is an important part of the show. I think you pushing him along right now, it's not good. The people need the big game breakdown. Slow it down. Why are you always going so fast? You're always going fast.
Sharapan, I don't know how much money this schmuck paid you that's sitting in the middle, but all he does in Slack all day long is, Prez, we have a hard stop. We have a hard stop, Prez. I gotta go. I gotta be out of here at 12:45, Prez, no matter what. And then he wastes time when I say to him, don't ask a follow-up question.
Listen, wasting time to ask a
Why
follow-up.
are we doing this? Can we get into some actionable betting information, please?
Real quick, important to note, Dave, you know that Alex Caruso doesn't play for the Bulls anymore, right?
Listen, I already had the jersey, Theodore. What am I going to do? I mean, he got traded. I like this Bulls shooter jersey. It's all I had. I couldn't change the jersey. I do know that. Thank you for that information.
Dave, are you betting on the NFL game tonight?
Hell no. Are you crazy? This is a really hard game. Why? Do you want to bet on this? Do you have to play for the clients? Because the sharp side is the Jets. The Jets. They've been on the Jets for weeks. Aaron Rodgers this. Devontae Adams that. Do you watch the games? If you watch the games, you really forget about don't be a dick and put that sign up. You put the stop sign up. You need a hard stop. You're talking about Theodore giving you a hard stop. If you're going to bet the Jets, probably put a hard stop on the whole thing. All right? Good luck with that if you got them. I would only bet the Texans. But again, it's Thursday night football. So the home team trend works. The team with the short travel and all that works. The best receiver on the Texans is out. The other guy, Nico Collins, is out. Why would you want to bet the Texans? I'm still trying to recover from the World Series, boys. I mean, that was a hell of a World Series, despite the fact that, Freddie Freeman, 33-1, cash a ticket for MVP. That was great. The Dodgers find a way to come back and win in game. Was plus 4.5, plus 130. I feel pretty smart after making that bet last night. I should have taken 9-1 on the money line.
Yep. So, Dave, you got no opinion on the NFL for tonight. Let's talk about the NFL card for the weekend. Anything stand out to you? You got your ear to the ground here in Las Vegas. What are you hearing? Who are the pros betting? Who's the public on? What game's on all the parlay cards? Let's break down Week 9 in the NFL.
Well, despite the fact that Prez didn't want to, let you do the big game breakdown, the Bengals stink.
What are you talking
You did
about?
not. You wanted to yell at him and make him stop and do it quick, and then you made fun of him and wanted him to do it again, run it back. I heard it. I was listening in the green room. I like the Raiders to cover because that's all they do. That's what they do. Pay attention, Prez. Just, oh my goodness, what are you doing? Kids, if you don't know what that is, that's a magazine with some different kind of pictures in it. A lot of kids have never seen that magazine, Prez.
Sure.
All right, you threw me off. The Raiders cover, they don't win, right? That's been the MO. So the Cincinnati Bengals are broken. They're just not who we thought they were at the beginning of the season. The key to NFL wagering is the ability to adjust and think you knew at the beginning and know that you don't in the middle, because you got to change the way you take a course of action. I like the Raiders. It would be the only side I would bet there. Patriots and Titans, somebody got to be favored. I can't believe it's more than 3. Saints and Panthers, line through that game. Bills and Dolphins, it would only be the Bills side there. Cowboys and Falcons. Listen, I wouldn't let anybody bet the Cowboys with Prez's money. And he's got it, and he's got a lot of it because he goes and plays poker and travels all around. He's in that beautiful condo wherever he's at every week, every day when he comes on here. Good luck. If you want to take the Cowboys, that's on you. Broncos and Ravens, I'll give you a stat. Did a little research for this one. Lamar Jackson, as a favorite of 7 points or more in the last 4 years since 2020. He's 2-11-1. That screams Broncos. That one's for the pen. I mean, I didn't get it from Ralph, but that sounds like a Ralph stat. Commanders only against the Giants. Can't pick a bad team. I know it's a division game. It's laying points on the road, and the Commanders got very, very lucky with that Hail Mary or Maryland Miracle, whatever they're calling it. So that one, it's favorite. Cardinals against the Bears, leaning that way, and I think that one's going to move, boys. Keep an eye on that one. Lions and Packers is game of the week. I think that's going to be a monster game, and it's all questions about love. Detroit's the best team in the NFC. I don't think there's a question. I don't know who number 2 is. It might be the Philadelphia Eagles, who are playing and got moved from Sunday night to Sunday afternoon. Who made that decision? They traded this game for the other game. You can have Jacksonville if you want them. That's a teaser choice. And then Minnesota is laying points, and they put in Flacco. The Colts made a grown-up decision and said, sit the kid down. We got to win now. Everybody got to save our jobs. It's dog or nothing there. That was 2 minutes, Prez. I know there's a hard stop. I tried to get in as much as I could.
That was outstanding, Dave. Just one quick follow-up on that. You talked about the Arizona Cardinals, Chicago Bears. You said you anticipate a line move there. What are you expecting to see?
Yeah. I just talked to a couple guys this week already that are just, sitting and waiting to see if books will shift that to the Bears being favored, and they're going to take, anything that they can on pick'em or plus money on a money line on the Cardinals. So that's just one that I'm keeping an eye on. It's probably going to end up the Cardinals being a favorite. Just be aware of that. Listen, Chicago's got a good football team, and Caleb is getting better week by week, but the rhombuses and parallelograms aren't believing in him. They just don't think that he's going to go on a road after a great stealing the defeat from the jaws of victory that they had, that they're going to go on the road to the desert and win a game.
Strong info from Dave Sharapan at SportsBK Consig, the Sportsbook Consigliere on X. Dave, we've got just a few minutes left with you. Let's talk a little college football. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What's the buzz around town for college football this weekend?
I was going to run through a couple hockey games real quick. Chicago's playing San Jose. We'll stick with the Chicago team there.
Prez wanted to ask you the hockey himself after we talk college.
All right. Well, I thought Prez was checked out of the segment, so that's fine.
Checked out.
He's checked out in general.
I'm taking notes, bro. I'm taking notes.
All right, that's fine. Take it. Listen, I didn't even know you could write. This is very good information. I didn't know what year it was, and I seen you hold a pen and a fork, and it's picking whether you can actually write legibly or not. Toronto Maple Leafs are a huge favorite today against Seattle. I was hoping Prez would say he likes Toronto because I think puck line Seattle plus 1.5. Toronto plays to their level of competition. I think that one's going to be a sweat. They should blow them out, but no. Pittsburgh is arguably one of the worst teams in the league. They're playing Anaheim. Every Penguin game goes over. It doesn't matter the opponent. Yep. That game's going over, okay? And Philadelphia, sneaky good, sneaky bad sometimes. I like them today against the Blues. Just keep an eye on that one. That's the hockey portion of the show. College football, Teddy, I'll give you this, all right? I got the Caruso stuff on and the headband. But anything I say in the next 30 seconds is completely biased, and completely angry. There's one game, okay? There's one game that matters to me this week, and it's Penn State hosting Ohio State. I can't stand Ohio State. That's the team that, and believe me, I already have bets out that I am going to have to maybe wear Buckeye stuff next week, and I'm not happy about it. So I have a lot more at stake, more than cash, pride, all of it, okay? My oddsmaker friend said, we're putting this thing light. We had it, the summer line was 6, was 5. You have quarterback questions, Dave. How can you send us 3? I sent them 3. They said, Dave, what are you making an Ohio State-Penn State game? I said 3. And then I didn't put which side. And I said, you know which side? And they're like, stop. Penn State's not favored. This might be the year, Theodore. This might be the year that we could say we are Penn State. Otherwise, Saturday morning, I'm not going to be happy at all. Penn State.
Dave Sharapan, of course, he's not worried about the quarterback problems for the Lions. And Penn State can win this matchup, and then they'll still find a way to screw it up at the end of the year. Don't you worry.
Sound like a Michigan guy talking there. Sound like how Michigan doing? Huh?
They have a national championship in their pocket from last year, and I could give 2 craps. I'm 30 years out of that school now. Dave Sharapan, what do you have to promote, my friend? Sports BK and Sig on X. What else is going on?
Thank you, sir. Sports BK and Sig on X, all the different things that I do, and you can find there different questions. Bostonian versus the book today, every day, Monday through Friday. We're doing a lot of Breeders' Cup stuff. We got a deal. We're going to the Breeders' Cup tomorrow. They're flying us there. We're doing a show, horse racing extraordinaire. We talked to Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith yesterday. It was amazing. If you guys are horse guys, you want wagering information, it will be available today. We got a guy breaking down the whole Friday card. Every night, Monday through Friday, Sports Grid Sirius XM 159. In-game live, prime time, game day, whatever they're calling it, 5 to 7 Pacific, 8 to 10 Eastern. Cash Considerations podcast with Dan Alexander. You guys know him very well. It dropped. We had a lot to say. I have to ask you a question on the way out. M&M peanuts. Do you get the M&Ms? Peanut M&Ms or regular M&Ms? If you have to make a favorite, Prez, which one is favored in that matchup?
Well, that's not even like, that's like peanuts without, how is that? Who in their right mind would not pick peanuts?
It's one of the smartest things you've ever said on this show. Theodore, are you a peanut guy? Do you have the nuts or no?
I'm calling that a pick 'em. Look,
You're
the original.
insane.
Whether the line is pick 'em or not, which one are you picking, Theodore? If there's a bag of each in front of you, which one are you picking?
Sometimes I will have the ones with M&M's, sometimes with nuts, sometimes I won't. It just depends on what mood I'm in. They're both good.
That's Miles and
Thank you so
Almond
much,
Joy. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
There you go.
The kids, Prez, the kids had a huge debate this morning at the bus stop with Little Consig, and the kids said, ask your only old people like the nuts. I said, what are you talking about? That's what they told me. The kids like the plain, Prez. That's what they said. That's what they said.
So we have Smarties up in Canada. So if we're going to eat anything without the nuts, we're eating Smarties. It's way better than non-nut peanut M&Ms. Anyway, are we done?
We're done. See you, boys.
done.
Presidential address. I'm staying. I want to listen to this.
We're going to wrap it for the Thursday edition of WagerTalk Today. We'll do it again. Same time, same channel. 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. We'll be back tomorrow. Between now and that show, best of luck with all your bets. And stay tuned right now. Lawrence has a presidential address he's dying to give us on Halloween. Cheers. Have a great night, guys.
Happy Halloween, everybody. It's your daily presidential address, and I'm going to take apart the Denver Broncos Baltimore Ravens game. Before we get into that, it is Thursday, and I have a very rare 3-pack of NHL bets up for you guys tonight. Most of the time, I only play one NHL play per day, so when I have 3, I really do like the card. I also have an NBA play. You can get that all over at wt.buzz/LP. Okay, let's get into this Denver-Baltimore game, and a really great matchup at that. Let the tough part of this Denver schedule begin, and boy, what a start. playing an angry Ravens team coming off of a division loss and playing their worst game of the season. I wouldn't want to be Denver here, but in the same regard, really tough to lay -9 with the Baltimore Ravens. Dave Sharapan actually came on WagerTalk Today on the Thursday edition show and gave out a phenomenal statistic about Lamar Jackson, -7.5 and up. And I don't exactly remember the numbers, but let's go with this. Don't bet Baltimore at -7.5 or better. It's a terrible record. I'll get Dave to tweet that out as 2-11-1. 2-11-1. Baltimore Ravens -7.5 or better. So we can't bet Denver and we can't bet Baltimore. What are we going to do in this game? Well, we're going to look at the Ravens' strength and weakness. We know the Ravens can score, and we know they have a horrible pass defense. We're going to take the over in this game. The number here, 44.5, and the Ravens have put up 41 points themselves twice in their last 4 games. They literally average 30 points per game, and I get that they're playing this so-called great defensive unit in Denver, but no one has come close to stopping this Ravens team. They put up 24, 41, 30, 41, 35, and 28, and we are to assume out of the blue all of a sudden they can't get to 24. That is just not true. They're going to get to 24, and they're likely going to get to 30. Now, I get that Denver has this great defense. Really? Do they? They played Carolina, New Orleans, the LA Chargers, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the New York Crappers in their last 5 games. Anybody could have a great defense playing those 5 teams. Maybe Denver has the best defense in the history of the world. Maybe they don't. We don't know. They have literally played nobody. As for the Broncos' offense, they just put up 28 points and 33 points in their last 2 games. They put up 16 points against the Chargers, which would be equivalent to, say, 30 points against the Ravens. They put up 34 on the Raiders. I get that these 3 teams suck, but hey, the Broncos are still scoring. The Ravens have kept only one single team under the total of 23 points all year, and that was the Buffalo Bills. And the game just got away from Buffalo. Denver's going to get some points here. This game is 31-24, 31-17 written all over it. We're going to take the over. And really quick, the winning catch by Cleveland against Baltimore was the 21st play that Baltimore has allowed over 25 yards this year. That's the worst in the NFL by far. Take a look at some long touchdown passes by Bo Nix as a prop bet. Take a look at some big-time receiving yards by their receivers as well. And also, Nix is relying heavily on tight ends. Take a look at Troutman over in both receptions and yardage. That's it for the daily presidential address. Thank you all for watching, and take care of yourself. Have a happy Halloween.